Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Busters Taste Challenge. Wanted to start earlier, but it didn't work out. Newspaper got delivered late, had to go get that. Still have to read it. Anyway, we have two 3-year age Canadian blended whiskeys introduced in the 1980s. This is bottled in Minnesota by Prestige Beverage Group. It's called McAdams. And apparently it was always a Prestige Beverage Group brand. That company was established in 1974, by the way. There's two lions wearing crowns representing the Royal Government of Canada, holding up a maple leaf representing the maple syrup culture of Canada. All right, so this is a pretty inexpensive whiskey, eh? It was $7.99. Yeah, it was $7.99 for the liter bottle. No, do not scratch. $7.99 for the liter bottle. BC's Beer Reviews. Good morning, Ron. Now, whether it's a bottle or a can, and with whiskey, it's almost always a bottle, but there is canned whiskey. I'm going to review it. There is canned whiskey. Mathern's was selling it, but I never bought it. I can't buy everything. All right, so this 3-year age is the minimum for Canadian whiskey. All right, it has to be aged at least 3 years. If you use 80% grain spirits, fine, but you have to age in 3 years. In the United States, you can use raw grain alcohol, which in Canada they call grain whiskey, and then blend it with straight whiskey, which has to be aged at least 2 years. So there's a little difference there. Here's the competitor. You can see us that Buffalo Trace bottle, right? That ancient age McAfee's Benchmark Old No. 7 bottle, kind of a Jack Daniels knockoff bottle. This is Canadian Hunter. It's not, now, the previous taste challenge, there's the bullet because the guy's hunting. Canadian whiskey with natural flavors. Nothing unusual there because most Canadian whiskey has natural flavors added. Things like white rum, could be gold rum too. Wine of all sorts, probably sherry though usually. They could have bourbon added from the USA, and other things. Can't be over 9.9% flavoring though. Anyway, this replaces the Seagram's Canadian Hunter starting in 1989. So Seagram's Canadian Hunter introduced in 1984 by Seagram's, but they sold, I think it was 14 of their brands to Sazerac in 1989. And they dropped the Seagram's name. Now, when they bought the VO from Diageo, the people who inherited a lot of Seagram's in the year 2000, they kept the Seagram's VO name. It was such an iconic name, Seagram's VO Canadian whiskey. But for Canadian Hunter, they just dropped it and rebranded it as a Sazerac product. But it's Buffalo Trace. It's bottled at Buffalo Trace in Frankfort, Kentucky. It says right here. Bottled by Sazerac Company, Frankfort, Kentucky. Well, Sazerac owns Buffalo Trace. And there's the antlers, skull from the dead deer. Make sure I use the right label. Okay. Price point, $8.99 for this bottle at Mathern's. Might have gone up to $9.99, but I paid $8.99 for this $7.50. You say, well, that's really cheap. It must be really cheap whiskey. Yeah, but this was $7.99 for a liter. I've only seen McAdams at Total Wine and More. But that doesn't mean a whole lot because it could be sold at other places. I might have seen it at Broadway Liquors in New Orleans, come to think of it, but I'm not sure. But because Broadway Liquor sells some oddball stuff, but their prices aren't good. I really don't buy anything from them. Like I saw this blended American whiskey, which was an off-the-wall Diageo brand that was supposed to like be the new thing, but it didn't really take off. I don't even know if they still make it. But I said, I'm not paying $12.99 for this. Maybe it's good. I'm not going to find out because It's probably just some old ordinary product. So never mind Broadway Liquors. I know they upcharge everything because they're right next to Tulane University, or down the street from it, and up the street, I should say, up the highway. I mean, walking distance, of course. And so they got students going to Tulane University, and they're going to pay a lot more than they should for the liquor. And there's houses all around there that are rentals. Students rent the houses, so they go into Broadway Liquor all the time, constantly buying beer, wine, and liquor. Okay. Both golden. Tulane is known for a lot of partying and all. I asked my grandfather, who graduated from Tulane University in like 1940. No. Yeah, it was like 1941. I think he graduated a year early. Like he was saying, he had good grades. So his father was a doctor, and I guess he got the hookup for him to go to Tulane Medical School, because my great-grandfather was a doctor, and then he wanted his son to be a doctor, and so he went there. And I said, well, I'm talking to my grandfather. I said, well, what was it like in the 1930s at Tulane? Was it a party school like it is now? All this drinking and all that. He said, oh, yeah. That's all they did. He's talking about like in 1938, 39, 40. He said, oh, yeah, it was typical, And then he graduated from Tulane Medical School. So he said, yeah, that's pretty much, he said pretty much nothing changed. And he said they used to go out to eat at EO College Inn on Carrollton, which is about a mile from Tulane's campus. And it's still there. My grandfather's telling me, we used to eat there in the 1930s. And it's still there in the 2020s. All right. So the car styles have changed, the beer brands have changed, and the liquor brands, whatever, but not really so much the behavior or the places. All right. These are going to be very similar, and I think it's going to be a draw. So it should just be like even. But that would mean McAdams wins because it's $7.99 a liter, and the Canadian Hunter is $8.99 for a 750. Can you buy Canadian Hunter at Total Wine? Oh yeah, you can get the big jugs. So Canadian Hunter you can get in the regular size, the big bottle. Mathern sells it. Walmart sells it. Winn-Dixie, everybody sells it. It's common around here. So somebody's drinking it. Is it as popular? It's not as popular as Crown Royal. You know that. Nothing is as popular as Crown Royal in Louisiana. It's the most popular whiskey without even there's no comparison, all right, for the sales. They probably sell more Crown Royal in a day in Louisiana than they sell in a year for Canadian Hunter as a comparison. Same thing with craft beer. A local store, I'm not going to say who told me, we make money with craft beer. It sells, but we sell on a weekend more Bud Light than we would sell in months for craft beer, like it just, and if it's a Super Bowl weekend or Halloween weekend, it's like unreal. It's a whole it's just pallets, just hundreds and hundreds of cases. Whereas craft beer has a following and people buy it, but it'll sit on the shelf. A lot of that stuff will be covered with dust, go out of date. Bud Light would never go out of date, Just sells like craziness. Is it really that good? It's okay. It's mass produced. But people like mass production. They drive mass production cars. They drink mass production drinks. They wear mass production clothes. They use mass production hairspray. And they talk on mass production smartphones and so on. This smells like stereotypical Canadian blended whiskey, which means it smells like grains, mainly corn, and it's just funky, musty grains. Corn, wheat, rye, barley. It's like a multigrain cereal. Now you say, now you're being flipped, you're being smart aleck. I'm not. It smells like a multigrain product, and that's what it is. Okay, this smells like that, but this has that weird, strange, odd, unusual almond extract, unusual flavor sweetness. John and Illy was the one talking about almond extract. Come in here if you're crying. So that's got to be Canadian Hunter. Do they add flavor into the McAdams? They might, but it doesn't evidence that. In other words, when you taste it, it doesn't taste like they're adding flavorings to it. And they're not required to add flavor into Canadian whiskey. They're allowed to, get it? They're allowed to do it, but they're not required to do it. And maybe they don't do it because maybe they like the way it comes out without the flavoring. American blended whiskey is allowed to have blending sherry in it. But it's not required to have it. They say for consistent, to keep flavor consistency. That's what the U.S. government website says. If you sell bourbon cannot have flavoring added. But now maybe bourbon overseas can have. See, the bourbon law for America is not the bourbon law for England or the bourbon law for Ukraine, all right? So some people apparently were drinking bourbon overseas with flavoring added. That was aged in used barrels like early times. And Matherns, oh, stop all the crying. And Matherns and Walmart have 10 high, and it says bourbon with flavors added. Now explain that. All right, taste. What are you messing with? Don't tear anything up. Sorry about that. This cat was crying to come in, and now she's crying to actually to disrupt the video because she doesn't want me doing the video. She wants me immediately stop and just get on the floor and pet her all day long. I cannot do that. You know, it's not my job to just constantly pet a stray cat who grew up in the wild and showed up over here demanding all these things. All right. Trying to train that biting and scratching out of her. It's in her nature to do that. And she likes to play sneak attack, hide and then charge out. But she doesn't know any better. But her tail got chopped off. Crazy story. All right. Anyway, I told that old lady don't feed this cat, but she didn't listen. All right. It does taste a little bit like they have flavoring, but it's not heavy on that. This one, it's heavy on that. All right. Do you get a little rye spice? You get a little bit, and you get a little the multigrain and all, but really mainly what you get here with the Canadian Hunter is like this. I don't know what this flavor is. You know what it's like to me? Confectioner's sugar. It's like that sugar they use that's like in a powder form, but it's so finely ground that it's almost like liquid. And it comes in those polypropylene bags. And you cook with it. I mean, you could put it in coffee, but powdered sugar. I don't think they're allowed to add sugar to Canadian whiskey. But it tastes like they added powdered sugar. And that means it's probably some kind of rum. And it's probably a white rum, a silver rum, you know, wouldn't mess with the color too much. But if it was gold rum, it wouldn't really matter because you want the whiskey to be gold anyway. So Canadian Hunter, it's smooth. I mean, there's no bad bite to it or harshness or unpleasantness or anything like that. It just got that weird flavor. Now, they obviously changed it after they bought it from Seagram's. The Seagram's tastes like it had no flavor added. Just tastes like regular old whiskey. This is a little strange. Do people like this flavored Canadian whiskey? Oh, sorry, not flavored Canadian whiskey. That would be a liqueur. Let me rephrase that. Do people like this Canadian whiskey with natural flavors? You say, well, that's not really that big of a difference. I know. Well, there's a fine line between liquor and liqueur, apparently. Yeah, I guess people like it. Do they drink it neat? Probably not. Do they blend? Do they mix it and make cheap cocktails? Like take V8 juice and pour it in there? Probably so. And that's probably what they do with McAdams. These are not sipping whiskeys. Now, the old Seagram's label said a Canadian sipping whiskey. Sipping, ing whiskey. They make no such claim on Canadian Hunter. They don't even have a website for it. And look at the prestige. I can't do screen share on this stinking thing, but look at, I can do it on StreamYard, but look at what Prestige Beverage Group says about McAdams. McAdams Canadian whiskey is a smooth whiskey to enjoy on the rocks or mixed in your favorite cocktail. See, they're immediately not saying drink it neat. They're not even talking about drinking it neat. You know why? Because they don't want you to drink it neat. They want you to either have it on the rocks at a minimum or mixed in your favorite cocktail. Simple as that. Is it smooth? Well, yes, it is. So who wins? Well, I have to say that McAdams wins. It's not way better, but it is a good deal cheaper. Well, you know, relatively cheaper. Now, what about the handles? Oh, I don't know. You might save $1 or $2. I guess yeah, it might be $2 more, or I don't know. You got to check Total Wine and More could differ in your area. But it tastes a little bit more traditional. So if you want a whiskey that tastes more whiskey-like, you know what I'm saying, like standardized, the aromas and flavors generally associated with whiskey, then Prestige, the beverage groups, McAdams should work. Is it going to be a world-class product that's going to compete with all the best? That's a ridiculous question because you know the answer to that before I ever asked it. It's $7.99 a liter. You know it's not going to do that. On the other hand, we did Crown Royal first. Was Crown Royal that much better than it? It really was not that much better than it. You could pay $23 for Crown Royal and get a $7.50, or pay $7.99 for this and get a liter, and you haven't really lost anything. You just haven't lost anything. Now, buy what you want. Now, if you show up at a party with Crown Royal, people say, oh, yeah, you got the crown, and all that associated stuff with it. If you show up with McAdams, people are going to immediately say, look, he's being cheap. He don't want to pay, or she's being cheap. But they won't entertain the thought that, yeah, well, maybe in this case it's worth being cheap because you don't gain a whole lot of quality with Crown Royal over McAdams. But anyway, it's a ongoing thing. You know, you're never gonna. It's just you cannot get through to people. Like next door, I was bringing over natural ice. They were drinking. They always drink Miller Lite and Bud Light. That's all they drink. Miller Lite, Bud Light, the two greatest beers in the world. So I had natural ice, and the guy Randy tells me, "Oh, that's an off-brand." He wasn't saying it in an ugly way. I said off-brand. It's been on the market since 1995. But in his mind, it's automatically going to be inferior to Bud Light because it's natural ice. And you could make a strong argument that natural ice is actually natural light. If you're talking about light beer, it's better than Bud Light. In my case, I think it is better. What? Okay. I see you. I got it. I get it. No. All right. Anyway. So Canadian Hunter is fine. Is it worth buying to check out just to try something new? Yeah, it's worth buying to check out, try something new because it's not bad. It's only $8.99 a bottle. You're not going to win new friends and admirers. I want those who get to know me become admirers, all my enemies. Oh, well. All right, but it's fine. If I drink this every day, I wouldn't like take offense to it and say, oh, that weird nutty flavor. It's like pecan oil. John said almond extract. Yes, kind of along those lines. Almonds, cashews, pecans, something weird like that. I wouldn't mind it. It'd be fine. I wouldn't exactly tell somebody, oh, you got to try this. It's the quintessential Canadian whiskey. You just can't believe it. I would never say that. So, short story long, is Canadian whiskey popular in Louisiana? Yeah, well, one of them is. Crown Royal is. I don't know about all the rest. And I don't even think Crown Royal, the liqueur versions, the apple. People go buck wild over Crown Royal apple. Oh, got to get my Crown apple. Got to get my Crown apple. I can't judge it because I never tried it. But I've tried other similar things. So Crown Royal in particular is extremely popular in the United States and in especially Louisiana. Is Canadian whiskey popular? I would say not really. That class of whiskey is probably not popular in Louisiana. I think a lot of people that drink Crown Royal aren't even aware of where it comes from, don't care where it comes from, wouldn't care if they found out, are definitely not going to do any research anyway. You know what I'm saying. Jack Daniels, yeah, it's popular. Seems to be fading a little bit. It's going to take about 100 years to fade away, though. You know what I'm saying? Fading, but not anytime soon. Jim Beam, it's got a following. I noticed they come out with that new Jim Beam Bourbon Cream, $18.99 a bottle. Didn't sell. I see the stores ain't selling any of it. People see that price. I'm not paying that much. Now that all the stores got $17.99. It's dropping. I said, let it drop. Because I'm not really dying to pay that kind of money either. I bought 2 stars eggnog the other day. It was it was $9.99, and it might have been a liter bottle. I can't remember, total one. But you can get. I'm not paying $18.99. I know what cream tastes like. I know what bourbon tastes like, and I know what they taste like mixed together with sugar added. I don't really need to pay that kind of money. It's a beautiful bottle. The Jim Beam Bourbon Cream bottle, it's great. They did a great job. But to expect people to pay this elevated price, I don't know about that. Anyway, enough ranting and raving. On with the day, on with the show. Tomorrow, I'm planning to do another Sazerac product. I may as well go to the Sazerac brands, get them out the way. I don't say it in a negative way like that, just to get them out the way. Then we'll go on to Canadian Gold from Laird's. That'll win. That's gonna win. That's a really nice one. Gibson's Finest Rare, that'll lose. I know it. I know it's $65 a bottle in Canada, and I know I don't like it. Thanks for watching this video production. Jeep and Foodie said they don't deny it's false. Whose faults? I'm confused about your statement. Thank you.